My name is Merrick Gertler, and it is my great privilege to serve as president of the University of Toronto. U of T's three campuses are home to an incredibly talented community of learning, discovery, and innovation. At the heart of our St. George campus is University College, U of T's founding college, built on the values of openness and academic excellence. Since 1853, UC has enabled students to challenge themselves and to prepare for success in the world. And its alumni include Canadian and global leaders in every field. Over the past few years, the college's iconic main building has undergone an historic revitalization. Under the leadership of past principal Donald Ainsley and current principal Marcus Stock, its magnificent architecture has been restored. Its revitalized spaces are now fully accessible and conducive to modern modes of teaching and learning. As a result, University College is an even more welcoming home for its faculty, staff, students, and alumni, and the wider U of T community. It offers fantastic spaces for conferences, events, and collaborative study. It provides a dynamic setting for the college's signature programs in Canadian studies, health studies, and cognitive science, as well as its engaging Toronto program for first-year undergraduates. University College is known as the front door of the University of Toronto, and this exciting new era in its history was made possible by the support of thousands of donors, including UC students. So on behalf of the entire UT community, let me say to all of you, thank you for your dedication and generosity. I hope you enjoy this virtual tour.
Welcome to the Revitalized University College. I'm Marcus Stock, the college's 17th principal, and it is my pleasure, along with President Gertler, to invite you inside virtually. Although we would have both preferred to be welcoming you in person, we hope you'll find this video tour of our revitalized college spaces both engaging and inviting. UC's revitalization has been years in the making. The UC community envisioned this heritage building as a reanimated and accessible space that would draw in students. The vision was to give students the opportunity to enjoy these historic halls to the fullest. UC is able to reach its full potential thanks to generous funding from all of you and the UC student body. The wonderful design from our architects John Schneer and Graham Stewart, and the work of many skilled craftspeople. So sit back and enjoy your tour, conducted by one of our students, Ayana Harvey. President Gertler and I hope you will be as excited and delighted with the changes as we are.
Welcome to University College, the University of Toronto's founding college. I'm excited about taking you on a tour of our revitalized college building. As you look around the main entry hall, you'll wonder what has changed. The answer is nothing and everything. Our past is still evident, but so is our future. Of course, we can't enter the hallowed halls of UC without reflecting on the college's history. UC is the University of Toronto's founding college. We were established as a non-sectarian institution by the province's University of Toronto Act in 1853. This amazing building was designed in the Romanesque Revival style, with a few other stylistic bits and pieces in to add whimsy. It first opened to male students in 1859 and admitted women 25 years later in 1884. A mishap with oil lamps in 1890 led to a fire that destroyed all but Croft Chapter House, the cloister, and the stone exterior. 2 years later, a restored college once again opened to students. Now fast forward to 1968, UC was designated a National Historic Site. In the 1980s, alumni fundraising helped bring the UC building up to code, and that brings us to the present, or almost. The revitalization plan was announced by former principal Donald Ainsley in 2013. After extensive planning and consultations, fundraising, and financial support from our community, construction began in 2018. 3 years later, in 2021, University College has become a showpiece. It beautifully combines old and new and makes the building much more welcoming to all students and the entire UC community. The revitalization didn't attempt to replicate the historical features. Instead, the design is intended to mesh with it in a timeless way that celebrates the building's heritage. So let's take a closer look. First, we'll visit the Old West Hall, which is now the Clark Reading Room. It has been generously sponsored by Ed and Fran Clark, legacy alumni who first met as undergraduates at UC. The reading room is an ideal place for students to read a novel or a paper, chat with friends, study, or hold a meeting for a club's executive. Here, you have the first glimpse of how our architects melded old and new. All of the woodwork has been lovingly restored. You can enjoy the idiosyncratic medallions on the wall, and, on a sunny day, the light pours in through the windows. On a darker day, the pendant lights, reminiscent of candles of old, banish the darkness. The furniture is all movable, so it can be reconfigured for an event or a lecture. It's an interactive room with plugs built into the tables and the walls, and a screen for broadcasting lectures taking place elsewhere in the building. In today's world, power is essential for student laptops and cell phones that need to charge, and Wi-Fi is ubiquitous. I'd also like to point out the sculptural freestanding consoles that you'll see in all of the revitalized spaces. They were designed specifically to conceal electrical and mechanical features. They are identical from room to room. This makes it easy for a user to access the necessary infrastructure in each room. In fact, half of the funds raised for the revitalization were used for infrastructure changes that aren't visible. All of the revitalized spaces look beautiful and have features that operate effortlessly, but a lot of thought and labor has gone into making that possible. Next, take a look down at the carpets. You'll see that they are a Roman red representing the Academy. It's a color you'll see throughout the revitalized building, a motif tying the rooms together. Now we'll leave the Clark Reading Room and cross the hall to the library in its traditional stacks, return to the original location in the East Hall. This space was designed as a library, but it was largely destroyed in the 1890 fire. We are delighted to see the hall restored to its original purpose. On our way to the East Hall, we'll pass a wonderful new feature, the elevator, that we'll explore later. Bear in mind that it offers easy access to both levels of the library. As a core value of the revitalization, accessibility is always done with subtlety. It is a signature feature of the design, from the slope of the flooring to the height of the water bottle stations to the addition of an elevator. University College has always championed inclusivity, and accessible design is another way of demonstrating our values. The new library is similar to the Clark Reading Room in shape, but it has a different mission that the design reflects beautifully. The original architecture is blended with modern materials to bring the library to life and make it inviting to students. Note the inward curvature of the stacks as they reach toward the ceiling. It mimics the arch shape of the windows and allows for a mezzanine with additional study and shelf space. The lighting is built into the stacks. As in all of the revitalized spaces, the lights are triggered by motion. It's a sustainability feature in which we take pride. Note the featured and special collection signage built into the front of the main stacks, creating another design feature to highlight the space. You can see the cozy alcoves between the stacks and comfortable chairs that call out to all comers. They were generously funded by alumni and friends of UC. A library assistant sits at the far end of the hall in an accessible location, ensuring that all users will have a friendly face available to answer queries. Now let's take in the magnificent spiral staircase to the mezzanine. As we walk to the second floor, we can see the expanse of the library from a different vantage point. No matter how short or tall we are, the railing design allows us to take in the view. On the mezzanine, we can actually get up close to some of the library's historic design features. The stained glass window, for instance, and the curious faces and animals decorating the walls of standing height. Be sure to look for the owl, a symbol of wisdom you'll find throughout the building. On this level, you'll also find group study rooms that are soundproof to allow for lively student discussions. For example, the Mimi Gould Cruikshank Seminar Room, generously funded by Michael Cruikshank in his mother's honor. The UC Librarian's office is also located on this level. Note the graded entry and exit ramp with its varied patterns that make the top and bottom of the ramp clearly visible. It's a safety feature. There is also a small service desk on the mezzanine where a friendly student assistant can check out books or answer library users' questions. Outside the library is the Owlery Cafe, certain to be one of the most popular student spots in the building once it opens in the fall. Now let's take a look at UC's new Student Success Commons. This quietly elegant, barrier-free area provides a comfortable waiting room, private consultation rooms, and group study rooms that will be home to a collection of student services from across the university. These student services have been integrated and relocated here to make them readily available to UC students. The services include academic skills education, accessibility advising, career and education advising, counseling and psychotherapy, and international student advising and exchange opportunities. From the Success Commons, it's a quick walk and elevator ride back to the main floor. Yes, we now have an elevator at UC that makes the building fully accessible. Yet, it has been inserted so discreetly that it doesn't interfere with the college's facade. In fact, the lobby brings the outside into the building and vice versa, with windows that overlook the Clark Quadrangle. This popular outdoor area is in the midst of being revitalized. The elevator uses space that was once the purser's room. After we ride the elevator back to the main floor, there is still a lot to explore. And we'll save one of the most dramatic for last. Let's next stop at Classroom 179. This tiered lecture hall is familiar to everyone who has taken classes at UC. Take a moment to picture the old wooden seating. We'll head inside for an accessible mix of old and new. The doors, like those in all revitalized spaces, can be opened mechanically to allow you to take in the view. You'll notice that all of the revitalized rooms have wide doorways that accommodate wheelchairs. As you can see, it's similar to the earlier version of the room, but different. All of the window shutters have been restored and the woodwork has been refinished. Students can easily access barrier-free seats from this doorway and from the doorway on the lower level. At the front of the room, the architect has given us weighted projection screens that can be raised and lowered. There is also a knee-high divider in front of the seating that serves as a teleprompter, in case you haven't memorized the lecture that you plan to deliver. To make sure the student in the last row can hear that lecture, the room is also wired for sound. Here too, you'll notice the Roman red flooring, the new lighting, and the console. Although we'll walk out the door we used to enter the classroom, there is a door on the lower level for those who enter the building through the side entrance. Accessible seating is available on that level too. Now, another classroom awaits our attention. As we walk down the ramp, take note of the herringbone pattern on the floor. It's not only decorative, it subtly indicates that the ramp will accommodate two-way traffic. It's important in a building full of students. Welcome to Classroom A101. This is a student-centric version of today's classroom. Its tables can be arranged in various configurations depending on whether there will be a lecture, group work, or individual lab work. And each of the video screens can operate independently. This allows students to access the visual aids relevant to their projects. From here, it's off to the senior common room. It's a spot suited to a bit of a break from the day's routine. There is a workspace and a place to relax away from the hustle and bustle of the hallways and classrooms. Slide open the impressive wooden door, however, and this space blends into the lobby of Paul Caderio Conference Center at Croft Chapter House. It's a perfect way to extend that space for events and receptions. Paul Caderio is a U of T graduate, Rhodes Scholar, and former World Bank employee. He has given more than 40 years of volunteer service to the university, and now his generosity has made this revitalized center possible. The lobby outside the center's wooden doors welcomes the visitors who access the building through the accessible entry. The walkway leading to the lobby has been graded to make the angle wheelchair-friendly. The college's commitment to accessibility and inclusivity is also highlighted by the original art installation. It was created especially for the revitalization by renowned poet Anne Michaels. Michaels is a graduate of UC who recently served as Toronto's Poet Laureate. Her words, "We teach others how to live," are displayed in each of the 132 languages spoken in Toronto. The entrance lobby leads to classrooms, but it also leads to another highlight of our tour, Paul Cadario Conference Center at Croft Chapter House. If you remember the old Croft space, prepare to be amazed. Inside, the architects have blended form and function, old and new, into a marvel of design and engineering. The heritage features remain and are accentuated by the contemporary additions. The imposing chandelier improves the acoustics and emphasizes the shape of the room. It seems to bring the earthbound viewer closer to the clear-story windows high above. The room has morphed from the 19th century chemistry lab to a 21st century conference center with all the technological features you would expect: a wired podium, a large display screen, and acoustic strips in the wainscoting. The walls are clad with striated steel wainscoting that climbs about 2 meters. As your eyes move higher, you see wall surfaces that have been stripped and repainted, punctuated by restored beams. Although your eyes are drawn skyward, don't miss the signature Roman red carpeting or the drinks rail along the wall, perfect for receptions. And, as you can see, the space can meet many needs: theater seating for a student lecture, tables for a luncheon or working session, or standing room for a cocktail party. Now, you've seen almost all of the changes that you have helped bring about. But before we finish our tour, let's take a quick trip outside to the Clark Quadrangle. The landscaping in the Clark Quadrangle is still under construction, but let's admire the outside of the elevator bay. Look at the bronze scales that climb the tower. The architects chose a medieval dart motif that is reminiscent of armor. It reminds us both of UC's place in U of T history and the whimsical nature of the college's design. By day, you'll see the copper oxidize into a traditional shade of green. At night, LED lighting will give the tower a magical glow. I hope you have enjoyed your tour of the revitalized UC building that all of your generosity made possible. Now, there's only one thing missing: you. It's your presence that will help bring vitality to our revitalized space. We look forward to seeing you here.